Hi there, once again, I'm Matt Donnelly from RotoBaller, and it's time to talk about those starts and sit players at the wide receiver position heading into week number 3. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, although things haven't got off to a good start for him so far. Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, watch that injury. CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Diggs, and A.J. Brown. He who is the squeaky wheel is often going to get the grease. These are guys you are starting each and every week, regardless of the matchup. You're fielding them in your lineups. Now, who are some of these other wide receivers that you can trust this week? Who are some of these wide receivers that you should be fading? This week, I am starting Jordan Addison versus the Los Angeles Chargers. This week, the rookie faces a Chargers secondary that has already allowed a league-high 565 receiving yards to the wide receiver position, along with 4 touchdowns. Now, it has only been 2 weeks, but Los Angeles will have their hands full trying to defend Justin Jefferson, meaning that Jordan Addison is likely to get lost in the shuffle and find himself on the loose somewhere down the field. When looking at target distribution in Minnesota, we can see that Addison has been that deep threat for Kirk Cousins, and as long as teams are fixated on Justin Jefferson, that's going to remain the same. Another start is a result of the same old Tennessee Titans. That's right, I'm starting Amari Cooper against that Titans secondary. If Cooper plays this week, which he looks like he's going to since he played last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers, then you're going to put him into your lineup, especially considering he is facing a secondary that has allowed 52 fantasy points per game to the receiver position. Elijah Moore, he's a fine receiver. Donovan Peoples-Jones, he can hit big every once in a while. But you best be expecting that a healthy Amari Cooper is going to see a vast majority of those fantasy points. Receivers, when facing the Titans, have already claimed 14 red zone targets so far this season. Want another wide receiver to start? How about Michael Pittman versus the Baltimore Ravens? When your quarterback is the QB9 in fantasy and has only played 66% of team snaps, you know you're going to be a solid play in fantasy yourself. That means Anthony Richardson has been drawing all the attention as teams try to stop the run, which they haven't done very well. That's going to leave Michael Pittman one-on-one more often than not on the outside. Now, a concussion to Richardson may keep him out this week, but have no fear, Minshew Mania is ready to wrap up again, and that is enough. I'm telling you right now, that is enough to get Pittman his fantasy production this week against a Ravens secondary that just gave up 2 tutties to T. Higgins last week, and they are allowing the 5th most fantasy points to wide receivers this season. Let's give you another wide receiver while we're at it. How about Puka Nacua here versus Cincinnati? Webster's Dictionary defines Puka Nacua as no worries for the rest of your fantasy days. Start him and you will be problem-free with this philosophy, Puka Nacua. Plenty of people like Nacua throughout the draft process as a potential late-round target, but no one would have imagined that he would be the first player in NFL history with at least 10 receptions and 100 yards in each of his first 2 career contests. Only 4 players have started a season in such manner, and that includes Andre Bad Moon Rising, Isaac Bruce, Miles Austin, and Cooper Kupp. Now, hopefully when Kupp returns, he can return to a Nacua-type role in this Rams offense. How about some wide receivers that I'm sitting this week? DeAndre Hopkins versus the Cleveland Browns comes to mind. Against one of the worst pass defenses in the league, Hopkins was held in check by that Chargers team. Yes, the Chargers held the all-pro wide receiver to 4 catches and like 40 yards. Part of that is on Hopkins himself, but part of that falls on Tannehill, who simply has not looked good. This week, Hopkins and the Titans, they face the Cleveland Browns, who have already shut down Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. Sure, Hopkins 32% target per route run and 32% target share. That looks good through 2 weeks, but that's basically like putting lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. Another wide receiver that you have to sit is Terry McLaurin versus Buffalo. McLaurin was better than expected against Patrick Surtain and the Denver Broncos last week. Then again, Sam Howell, he dropped some absolute dimes, proving that he definitely belongs on the field on Sundays. This week, McLaurin and the Commanders face a Buffalo Bills team who has one of the best secondaries top to bottom in the entire league. Now, they did allow 84 yards and a touchdown to Davante Adams last week, but 21 of those 84 yards came on just one play, and no one has mistaken Terry McLaurin for Davante Adams. Now, here's my big, bold sit of the week. It's one of the guys I love, and it is Chris Olave versus the Green Bay Packers. Every once in a while, basically once a week, I drop a sit in here that I hope I am wrong. Last week, I hoped I was wrong when it came to Kirk Cousins, and guess what? I was wrong. That being said, I'm not sure I'm going to be wrong here when it comes to Chris Olave. This is that sit this week. The Packers, thanks in large part to Jair Alexander, have limited opposing receivers to just 25.45 fantasy points per game, which happens to be the 8th fewest in the league, while allowing just 2 touchdowns and 219 yards in the first couple games of the season. Time for that rapid fire. Wide receiver starts and sits for week number 3. Fire up Jordan Addison against the Chargers. LA gives up plenty of yards to wide receivers, and Addison, he is going to be open down the field more often than not. Start Amari Cooper versus the Tennessee Titans. If there is a stud receiver playing the Titans, it's time to fire him up in your lineup each and every week. Michael Pittman against the Ravens is another solid start, regardless of whoever is under center. Only 4 other teams are allowing more fantasy points than the Ravens so far this season to wide receivers. And Puka Nacua means no worries for the rest of your fantasy days. Fire up the target hog once again. Who am I sitting? I am sitting DeAndre Hopkins, who looks less than 100%, facing a tough Browns defense here in week number 3. Terry McLaurin is also on my bench against a Bills secondary that is one of the best in the NFL. And I hope I'm wrong when it comes to Chris Olave versus the Packers and Jair Alexander. This is a matchup that I'm just looking to avoid altogether. Be sure to like and subscribe to our RotoBaller YouTube channel for plenty more fantasy analysis.